sorry to spoil it for you guys, but we're starting to show off hot. If you haven't watched the pay-per-view, it was on Sunday. What are you doing? There was a whole day off. And we have a new AEW World Champion, amongst some other things happening in AEW. Some weird and wild things. It always happens over the weekend before we can talk about it. But now we can. And here we are to talk about. Welcome to the War Report, everybody. Brought to you by TagMeADate. Steve has some real world duties to take care of, so I will be hosting in his absence. Going in I was going to say in a second, but we're live, baby. So let's get things going. And we've got, I hate to say a lot to talk about because we always do, but we've got Raw last night, which is leading up to the pay-per-view Hell in a Cell coming up on Sunday. We had all the drama with MJF Saturday leading into Sunday for AEW's pay-per-view. And of course, we have the big one, Double or Nothing. AEW's pay-per-view returns to Las Vegas after not being there due to the pandemic. And here we are. I mean, amongst all the drama, MJF showed up when they didn't think he would. We have a new champ. We have a few debuts. A little bit of everything happened on that show.
Yeah, Eric's real excited about one debut in particular.
Yeah, yes, he is. I guess we should dive.
Justin just said down boy.
Serious. But we will get into that one as we talk about this. I don't want to spend all show on it because I know we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I'll just kind of go over the hits here. Hookhausen won the buy-in match. I know Eric is not a fan of the Danhausen thing. That was the buy-in pre-show match on YouTube. Match number one, which kind of, I guess, wouldn't shock you. You're on mute, by the way, Kat. Looked like you were trying to say something. You put your
No, I was just nodding, but kids
right.
in the background, try and save your sanity a little bit.
Oh, geez. All right, not a problem. Yeah, so the match number one when the pay-per-view actually starts is MJF versus Wardlow. We kind of have to go back to Saturday to explain fully what happened here. So there was a meet and greet as part of Double or Nothing weekend. AEW had a whole fan fest. They rented out a venue. They were doing autograph signings and all that, meet and greets. They did some live stuff for Being the Elite on YouTube. They did a bunch of stuff at the fan fest. So chief amongst those were you would pay a certain amount to meet the superstar and get an autograph and a picture, just like they do at Access. And just like Access, it's not necessarily cheap to do this. So the MJF package, the MJF package for the photos and autographs, to be specific, was a $100 package. And a lot of people had, apparently bought these. And when they get there, they hear that MJF has canceled. And then there were, people start saying, well, it's canceled, but I saw him gambling down in the casino that's attached to this hotel or conference center. And then the real rumor mill started churning that there's some trouble in paradise. We talked about this last week where there was kind of, not really to the level we're going to talk about now. We had mentioned that MJF had some kind of dispute with the amount that he was getting paid by Tony Khan and didn't seem happy with it and wanted to try and get more. And that all came to a head this weekend. I've been reading about it a lot, and I guess the thing that kind of set off all the sourness was MJF booked an interview himself to go on ESPN, or former ESPN personality Ariel Helwani's podcast. And he didn't. MJF did not go through the proper AEW channels to get the interview approved, and AEW didn't think it was that big of a deal, but still wanted to let him know, hey, you did this, it ended up fine, but just for future reference, could you not do it? And that's kind of what set off the bad feelings, I guess, on MJF's end. And he's like, well, you guys want me to do this, and then you're not going to, you want me to talk, set up through your AEW thing, this, that, the other thing, and then it turns into a contract dispute. So somehow we got from him being mad about the Ariel Helwani interview to being mad about what he's getting paid compared to Punk and Daniel Bryan, and even I guess Mark Henry and Christian are making a lot of money as well. But basically threatening the whole Saturday, MJF was to not wrestle. There was a rumor that a plane ticket was purchased late at night from Las Vegas back to the East Coast. But MJF did not get on that plane. MJF stayed. And from everything we've heard, showed up to the arena as close to his match as he could, came out, took 8 power bombs from Wardlow, got pinned, did a stretcher job, and then once backstage, changed and left, did not stick around for the pay-per-view. Then on Monday, some better news, better-ish news came out. So reports have come out since then, yesterday and today, that MJF and AEW, i.e. Tony Khan, are going to, or at least they're attempting to, work out this contract dispute. MJF will be taking some time off of TV. He said it himself to one of the journalists. He also mentioned, obviously you could tell by getting stretchered off after 8 power bombs, that was their way of writing him off TV for at least a little while. But if it ends up getting worked out, it's a situation that was a very real thing, with a very real possibility of MJF walking out like Stone Cold or Tony Storm or Jeff Hardy did or whatever. And potentially AEW either having the choice to freeze, sit on his contract and make him wait for a year and a half until January 1st of 2024, or if they would just fire him for breach of contract or what. There's a number of bad roads that this could have taken, but if it turns out that they actually make a deal, fantastic. If not, to me, this is different than the Naomi Sasha situation, where they went and talked to somebody and they said, hey, we don't like how this is being booked. And then they're like, we'll change the booking. And then they got the message that the booking wasn't changed. And it's different from Stone Cold not wanting to lose to Brock Lesnar, because Stone Cold was a 20-year veteran, whatever, world champion, and he felt like putting over Brock Lesnar on an episode of Raw wasn't as good as putting over on a pay-per-view, so he walked out. The situations are very different. MJF is under contract and signed for a certain amount. Turns out, after like the first year or so, he was given a bonus or a raise to the tune of like making several $100,000s of dollars a year. Now, remember, this guy signed the contract when he was like 24 or something, and he's 26 right now. Making decent money for a guy in his 20s. But wanted more because he sees these other guys coming in, and he is a big part of the TV show. I understand his side of it, but I also understand AEW's side of it, where they say, if you've already signed this contract, we want to give you an extension, but we'll give you more money on the agreement that you add another year or two to your deal. And apparently he wasn't willing to do that. Now that he's kind of called their bluff, are they going to give him the money without giving him the years, or is he going to eventually sign for extra years to get the more money? Or is he just like, you know what, screw you guys, I just want to cut my losses. Me and my best friend Cody Rhodes are going to WWE together, and I don't even, it's not about the money, it's about me. When I was 10 years old, I wanted to be a WWE superstar, and now that I've kind of made my name in AEW, screw you guys, I just want to go to WWE.
That would be the biggest mistake that boy can make.
Yeah, I know.
That would be ultimately the biggest mistake. And this isn't a dig on WWE, right, saying AEW's better. He would have, his character cannot exist in WWE the way it is on AEW. Not happening.
People are saying online they already have The Miz, so why would they need MJF? Because it would just be the same thing, which I kind of get.
Yeah.
I mean, MJF would bring a little different twist to it, but still, it would just be, I don't know, dude. It's very strange, because MJF was kind of shooting himself in the foot during these promos. He would bring up, oh, my contract expires in 2 years, and my best friend Bruce Pritchard is going to sign me to a contract with WWE, and all this, like, intimating all this stuff in promos to try and like get heat or whatever.
I just feel like MJF is being MJF, you know, like he always stays in character, always keeps kayfabe.
And I think that's to his detriment, though.
Yeah, could be.
It could be, yeah.
Because now it's having. Here's the thing: even if, like, let's go with the let's say that the autograph signing was a scripted thing, that he was going to miss it to try and create this story that he was disgruntled and blah blah blah, and he's always in character. He lost a lot of goodwill with the fans because the fans would come. You go to the autograph signing with the bad guy, knowing that that's what you're getting. The person that spent all the time drawing the nice picture of him knew that he was going to mess the picture up and rip it up and scribble on it or whatever. You know, people that come up with little kids and he flips off the little kid or he says some nasty stuff to the little kid. That's the experience that you get on TV, and then that's the experience that you get when you meet at the meet and greet. And I can understand, if you're a fan of that, why people want to do it. So to cancel that for real gives you real life bad, you know, like bad feedback from the crowd. And then the if it turns out that it's scripted, now it's like, well, I just got, you know, I flew out, like, let's say you flew out to Las Vegas. I flew out to Las Vegas. I paid this money. I know I got my refund or I got somebody else's autograph, but MJF canceled his autograph signing.
You just got dicked. Yeah.
Storyline. Like, come on. So that's why I don't think it's just that part was a storyline. I think anything past, anything up to and including Wardlow's, like that match on Sunday and then going forward, could be part of the storyline. But Saturday felt real.
I'll tell you what, though, they should make that into a thing where he's scheduled for all these meet and greets and he cancels every single time, you know, part of the story, except for Long Island, right? You know.
Oh, of course. Well, and that was the other thing that I was going to say. Does this make it seems like he's negotiating this he's a very young guy, and I don't know if he has somebody kind of in his ear trying to tell him you're going to make more money than Christian or Mark Henry or CM Punk. Whoever that is kind of feeding him, I think, bad information. But does this make Long Islanders look bad?
No.
Is this just par for the
No, we can do that all on our own. We don't need help from him.
Yeah, we had the bagel guy.
Yeah, we have Bagel Guy. We have Amy Fisher. You know, we have plenty of people.
My Joey, that poor lady that got shot in the face.
Oh, I mean, itself.
Oh yeah, the whole.
I mean, as I said, we have plenty on Long Island that could make us look bad. MJF is just really making us look good, which is scary.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, that's kind of where we are with this MJF thing. We really won't know until something else leaks out in the dirt sheets, or if he makes an appearance on TV either this Wednesday or whenever he comes back. You know, if he comes back on TV, obviously they're going to be doing something with him. But if not, maybe, you know, he came into AEW with Cody. He's friends with Cody. Like, they weren't going to sign him, and Cody went to bat for him. So maybe he feel like he just doesn't have as many friends backstage as he thought he would. I don't know.
The only way MJF's character could work in WWE with all the things that he does and says is if WWE went private again, which they're not going to do.
Right. But I think at this point, and again,
if this was the Attitude Era, oh my God, they'd be making so much money with him.
If this was the Attitude Era, he would have already just walked off, and then Vince McMahon would have thrown him a bunch of money.
But if his contract is up, like, let's say January 1st, 2024,
18 months,
that's my 2024 Royal Rumble winner right there.
Yeah, if they get him, I mean, it could be. But again, you know, we've talked about this a lot with Cody leaving. We talked about this with Sasha and Naomi walking off from WWE. The art of wrestling versus the business of wrestling. And I understand everybody's goal at whatever job they're in is to make the most money possible. But when you're in art, music, acting, film, whatever it is, TV, wrestling is an art form like that. It's also a business, which is kind of shitty now. But so there's that ultimate struggle between AEW allows you the freedom to do this, that, and the other thing, and you get your you get a lot of like MJF is featured a lot on TV. And there's something to be said about, you know, the equity of FaceTime on TV. You might not be making as much money right now, but because you're making that face equity on TV, that could put you in line for, they just did carpool karaoke for, like, there was a whole AEW episode. So maybe, he got put on that episode because they know he can sing. How do they know he can sing? Because he sang with Chris Jericho. You know what I mean? Like, there's all, and he was on the Rosie O'Donnell show. So, like, he can build up a lot of equity where he said, where you can turn this into a Roads to the Top, MJF, a Long Island Story reality TV show. You know what I mean? He could take it and kind of run with it the way that other people have by marketing this over the top personality.
I just thought of something funny. He could say, "Woo, woo, woo, I'm better than you," and you know it.
Oh, yes. Oh, beautiful. I love that.
Now that's good.
and he could bring on Matt Cardona. Go for it. Wouldn't that be, MJF and Matt Cardona going around Long Island and, like, showing, like, reviewing restaurants and, like, going to little hot spots and stuff. And,
you could throw Tony Nese in there.
Yeah, Brian Myers.
Oh my God, what MJF reviewing food at a like he's
this would be a York Foundation.
Well, you know what? We'll talk about later. But Smart Mark is down a client right now, so why don't they could have a whole Long Island faction? But what I'm saying is, he could take this opportunity in AEW and turn it into other TV shows. He could turn it into endorsements, product endorsements, or sponsorships. He doesn't necessarily have to go to WWE. But when you go to WWE, you're set for life. You get the money. Yeah. You're not necessarily creatively fulfilled because, like Cody, you've been wrestling the same guy for 3 fucking months, and between house shows and TV, you've wrestled him 25 times before the pay-per-view up. Yeah. And you're getting DQ finishes with The Miz on Monday Night Raw, and you're like, okay, the money's great, but this stinks.
MJF, before CM Punk came back to wrestling, MJF was on his way. This put him, and so I'd like to think that the CM Punk feud, not only did it make MJF, but it made Wardlow as well.
Yeah, they were telling the story of Wardlow splitting from MJF since the beginning of AEW. They've always kind of hinted that Wardlow was going to turn on them. Like, it was bound to happen. But you're right. I think CM Punk being entered into this elevated MJF a lot, because first of all, Punk lost technically to CM Punk in that first match in Chicago. So he can hold that over Punk's head forever, especially right now. And that's what I think he had to realize. Maybe he couldn't see the forest through the trees because he's losing all these feuds, but also he's a bad guy. The bad guys lose in the end. You got to lose. If you're a bad guy, you got to be okay with losing. As funny as it sounds, if you're a heel, you can't have an ego, because then what happens? You're like Shawn Michaels, and guess what? You don't wrestle as good as Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels had an ego because he was legitimately the #1 guy in the world at that time, but he was still hard to work with, and Vince still fucking hated it. So, like, when you're a bad guy and you refuse to put people over, or you're sick of putting people over, well, there's a couple things you could do. You can turn babyface, or you can understand, like Ric Flair did, that if you're the heel, you're going in the end of the story, you lose. Your part where you get over is the beginning and the middle. Attacking Ricky Steamboat in the parking lot, ripping his suit off, rubbing his face in the pavement, all this shit, and bloodying him on World Championship Wrestling while Tony Schiavone watches. You get the upper hand there. But when you pay for the Clash of Champions, or when you pay for Starrcade, the good guy is going to win. That's just the way wrestling works. It's the way storytelling works. If you don't want to lose all the time, don't be a bad guy. Sorry, MJF. That's just the way it is.
But they did the opposite with Lashley and Omos last night.
Listen, I don't know what they're doing with any of that stuff. They had, even if Omos at one point was in the Hurt business, and like they kept the Hurt business together, they added Omos, and then all of a sudden they split because Omos was like the wedge. Like, none of this, like, Bobby Lashley hasn't really benefited from any of the booking of the last couple of years, aside from winning the world title, which is great, but not keeping the world title because he lost it to Brock. He's lost his faction. He's lost his manager. He's lost 2 managers if we count Leo Rush, but I don't count that. I'm just saying, all this stuff that made Bobby Lashley interesting, and then by extension made Shelton and Cedric interesting, and MVP, who hadn't been in the business for a few years, made him relevant again, is all gone. And now, they're like, okay, well, we're gonna put all of this effort that we put into these guys, specifically into Lashley. Now we're gonna put it into Omos, because for some reason we think Omos is the next. Again, I'll say it, I say this every week. They fired Braun Strowman, and they're like, we just need another tall guy. Let's just put this guy in, because they figure a tall guy's a tall guy. As far back as Giant Gonzalez, they just didn't care. They wanted a tall. They don't care how you wrestle. You just had to be tall. Yeah, I don't like where that's going. But if Bobby Lashley wins, then maybe I won't care as much.
Yeah,
Still don't care.
And we all can agree on basically that the reason that they put Omos with MVP is because this could be like the last shot for Omos to be something. Because if MVP can't get him over, and the problem is though that knowing how petty and fucked up WWE is sometimes, they're going to somehow make MVP out to be the asshole in all of this when nothing's going to be his fault.
Yeah, he's going to be the scapegoat and be like,
yeah, he's going to be the Jim Ross to the Ric Flair. Mm-hmm.
You could have gotten Omos over because you talk and you got these other guys over. Talking only gets you so far. I don't like Bruce Pritchard, but he says one thing that I think means a lot. And it's a little phrase called, and then the bell rang. No matter how much you talk about a match, bell's got to ring, and you got to have a match.
Well, you mentioned
almost doesn't have it.
You mentioned like they got rid of Braun, now they have Omos. If Omos goes, they still have General Aziz, and they'll make him do some shit.
And
there's always going to be the big guy.
But does he even still work there, General Aziz? I haven't seen him.
I have no idea.
Maybe
I couldn't care less either.
You know who they do have, because and you can tell they're already starting it, is Shanky.
Year? Yeah, Shanky.
Justin said General Aziz got deported.
You gotta keep up on your green card, folks, Oh my god. So Shanky is with, and we're going back to SmackDown right now. Shanky is with Jinder, and at the end of their tag team match, Jinder's music was playing, and just like Brodus Clay and all the other just like Sweet Tea, Tensai, all the other fat guys who dance gimmicks. It's such a Vince McMahon thing that for 40 years, if you're a fat guy who can dance, you're in the fucking dumb group now. So Shanky's music, big guy. I'm not saying he's fat. He's just another big guy who they have dancing. And he was like doing this uncomfortable lap dance in front of the ring announcer, female ring announcer. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? You're taking another guy, and then I of course I see comments online. Oh, it's so great, he's showing some personality. It looks like he wants to have fun. I'm like, are you kidding me? They took another fucking guy and just made him dance. That's not a gimmick. Dancing is not a gimmick. It's just a thing you happen to do.
Hell, they did it with Khali back in the day too.
Khali, the fucking oddities, whatever. Ryan has joined the show right around the time where I complain about somebody being pigeonholed into some stupid gimmick that they've been doing for 40 years. Even Giant Gonzalez got wrapped up in that fucking oddities thing.
No, that was Giant Silva.
Oh,
that was Kurgan, different guy.
Oh, it was Kurgan. Shit, yes, it was. So there's a quick story behind that.
Elegante and Kurgan, not the same.
Kurgan actually has gone on to be in real movies like that Sherlock Holmes movie. I think it was the Robert Downey one, and then 300.
He was in 300, yeah.
He was in the 300, yeah.
He's in a lot of movies. But anyway, there's a story from Don Callis. They were at somebody's wedding back in the 90s, and Kurgan was out there dancing on the dance floor with his wife. And Don Callis pulled him aside. He said, stop right now. If Vince sees you out there dancing, you're going to fucking dance in gimmick. And he's like, I'm just at a wedding. I'm just having fun. He goes back out and dances with his wife. The next fucking week, he's out there dancing like an asshole with the oddities.
Yeah,
so,
well, if you recall, The Undertaker had said in an interview that, like, the first day he met Vince McMahon, he accidentally blurted out, like when he asked him do you have any skills, whatever? He's like, I can dance. And he took it right back immediately because he's like,
you got it.
oh man, if I don't take this back right now, I'm going to be dancing.
Well, he also thought because they were back when before they told him what his character was going to be, he saw
they're going to make me be the Eggman.
Yeah, and he had no idea that they were doing the gobbledygook. He's like, they're going to make me the Eggman. I'm going to have to shave my head and be the Eggman. And then Vince McMahon calls him, is this the Undertaker? And he's like, hey, you didn't say Eggman. Yes, sir. I'm the Undertaker, sir. Like, that's the stupidest story, but it just goes to show you you're on the precipice. We were one decision away from Stone Cold Steve Austin being Chili McFreeze.
Oh my God.
Because he said what was Richard Kokinski, was he the Stone Cold Killer? No, whatever he was, the Iceman, Richard Kokinski. Anyway, it was a serial killer, and he was like Stone Cold was like that was kind of like the whole thing. So he's like, we need something like the Iceman. They took it the wrong way. He meant Iceman like Dean Malenko was the Iceman, and they took it to mean Iceman like literally freezing and delivering somebody ice.
Are you talking about serial killer?
Yes. That was what
that was a good book.
That was Steve Austin was trying to base his character off of, but they thought he meant like a guy that owns an ice delivery
like Glacier.
Yes, like Glacier. Yeah,
like Mr. Freeze and Batman.
Yes, yeah. Take two of these and call me in the morning.
I'm talking about Schwarzenegger's version. Everybody, chill
out.
I'm Mr. Snow Christmas.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
So he's Mr. Ice
Kill the Robin.
Oh man.
Oh God.
Oh jeez. So anyway, listen. Anyway, long story short, to wrap up this whole bubble, we talked about the MJF match. MJF lost. Wardlow won. Wardlow got his big moment. Wardlow is all elite. MJF is still technically all elite because he's under contract, and we have no clue.
He was all stretchered.
Dude, he was all the way the fuck out.
But there's so much more to that show.
Yeah, so we're gonna kind of breeze past some of this stuff. The Hardys beat the Young Bucks, which I was shocked at.
It was a good match.
Jeff was, I guess Jeff's banged up from matches that he's been wrestling, especially that one with Darby Allin. I guess Jeff also had one of his boots came untied during the match, so that didn't help. But
did you see the statement he made about that?
Oh, I think because people were saying, I saw online, oh, this is DUI Jeff Hardy. Oh, Jeff Hardy must be drunk.
No. Someone actually, it was really funny because everyone knows, the whole thing with the Owen Hart ribbing and everything.
Yeah.
So he goes, that was Owen fucking with me.
There you go.
Because he always used to untie people's shoes and boots and everything in the middle of a match. He goes, that's the only way that explains that happened.
Yeah, so and people, I was just shocked that the Hardys actually won. I guess this sets up for them to have another match where the Young Bucks, because the storyline is that the Bucks haven't beaten them in a tag team match, so there has to be a point where they do. This next match is actually one of the ones we were gonna not necessarily talk about the match. Jade Cargill, the TBS champion, retained her title by beating Anna Jay. There was a lot of
smile come across Eric's face. Just the thought of talking about this match.
You know what's weird though?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that Anna Jay was scheduled for this match.
Yeah, they announced it. I don't even know. I felt like they announced it either last week, very close to the pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was a throw-in probably once they signed Athena because it literally just happened.
Yeah, this was So in the middle of the match, there was a bunch of interference. Mark Sterling came out because he was the attorney for Jade. He caught some hands from the Meat Man, John Silver, who came out to back up Anna Jay, who's part of the Dark Order. The baddie section came out and interfered on behalf of Jade. Jade ends up getting the win with an avalanche jaded. They actually made Anna Jay look really good. She couldn't. They made the story that Jade couldn't put away Anna Jay with her regular moves. She had to go to the top rope and hit like a super version of her finisher, which was great. And then the chaos starts. The baddie section is in there causing chaos. Chris Statlander runs out to try and even the odds. And then to really, and in the middle of all of it, they just announce, because you see this guy standing in the ring, Excalibur goes, well, it looks like after this match, Jade has decided to no longer retain the services of Smart Mark Sterling and has hired Stokely Hathaway. And we're like, what? They hired Stokely Hathaway? And the former Malcolm Bivens, the current Stokely Hathaway, is in the ring as the new manager of the Baddies and Jade. Apparently, Mark goes off and does something else. And so you've got that side standing off. You've only got the other girls on the two other girls on the other side. And then some music we've never heard before hits. And the fallen goddess Athena, a.k.a. Ember Moon, makes her AEW debut. And the place goes absolutely apeshit. She goes right up to Jade. There's a big stare off with the groups of three girls. And here we go. Athena is all elite. Athena is in the mix of the women's TBS championship.
Good place to debut.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And as we know, Eric loves...
It felt wrong to be the first one when Eric's here.
Yeah. But, okay, here's the issue I have in the championship itself is that what is this like a level slightly below the other women's championship? Like that's the women's world title, and this is like I don't understand.
It's the same way as the world title.
Is this like
and
the women's mid-card title, basically?
Yeah, they don't like saying that. They like to say that both titles are equally as important to each other, but it's not true. It's nice that they say that because they do allow this title. It's not like the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title where you don't even remember who the fucking champion is. You at least get these titles defended as main events on Dynamite. You know, the TNT or TBS title can main event a Rampage or a Dynamite in between pay-per-views, but the world title is always going to main event the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Basically. So, yeah, it's like their mid-card. It's mid-card, but they still, like, Jade is technically the mid-card champion, but, I mean, she's 32-0. She looks...
Upper mid-card?
Yeah, she's like... It's basically like the are you ready to be world champion or not belt, you know?
Yeah. That's a good way.
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's
I agree.
The Intercontinental title and U.S. title.
What it once was, yeah.
Now, I guess maybe they're doing because I guess we'll jump around a little bit because we have been, we've been chatting about halfway through Raw last night. We established that for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view this Sunday, Ali is challenging for Austin Theory's U.S. Championship.
Did you say Money in the Bank?
Yeah, Hell in a Cell. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was making sure I would.
Money in the Bank is the other Las Vegas pay-per-view that WWE tried to sell 65,000 seats in Reliance Stadium and couldn't do it. Had to cancel it and go to the 10,000 seat T-Mobile Arena. Anyway, yes, it's Hell in a Cell this weekend because
reasons.
It's Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell was in October for 20 years or whatever the fuck. And now it's in June.
So is it just Cody Rollins in the cell itself?
I'm gonna take a look right now.
I feel like it's also there's got to be a women's cell match, right? So while you do that,
I don't think there's one announced yet.
Quickly go through House of Black defeated the Death Triangle, which is a great match because all those guys can work. Finish of the match, Pac is on the top rope looking to hit the Black Arrow. The lights go out. When the lights come back up, Julia Hart, who took the black mist to the face. She got the goo in the face from Malachi Black a couple months ago, and now she has the black scarring on her face, and she misted in return. She misted Pac in the face to help the House of Black get the win. Julia Hart is no longer the cheerleader for the Varsity Blondes. She is now the fourth member of the House of Black. So we'll see how that goes.
And we should also mention she is of no relation to the Hart family.
She had to bring that up in the last couple of weeks. She put it on Twitter. She's like, by the way, not related to anybody. Ryan, you were saying about the Hell in a Cell matches?
Yeah, just the one with Cody and
Wow.
You know what?
The reason with the Julia Hart thing is they keep confusing her with, I think it was Brett's ex-wife that has the exact same name.
Julie.
Right, it's Julie.
Yeah. It was Julie.
Right.
Julie and Julia.
Julia Gulia.
Julie and Julia, the remake coming to AEW.
Right, but a lot of people made that mistake and automatically assumed. So wait, so why is Brett's ex-wife in She's not, honey.
She's not. Yeah.
She's way older than that. She's not 12.
Maybe they thought it was.
Could you imagine how young she'd have to be when she's
exactly? That's like some R. Kelly shit.
Yeah.
Even R. Kelly would be like, "Oh man, you should be talking about this."
Yeah. Like you'd have to be 2 when they were married to Bret Hart. But Adam Cole defeated Samoa Joe to win the men's Owen. Dr. Britt Baker defeated Ruby Soho. Ruby Soho had Rancid play Ruby Soho live.
That was fun.
That was amazing. But the 2 of them win.
And the drummer had a Crybaby Walker t-shirt on, baby.
Dude, that whole thing was awesome.
Yeah.
Cole and Baker, after both matches were finalized, got a Owen Hart Championship, Owen Hart Foundation Owen Cup ceremony where Martha Hart was brought out by Tony Khan. Martha Hart gave a great speech, introduced 2 championship belts that they awarded to the winners. One was black with pink, and one was pink with black.
Which I assume are not going to be defended. They're just there for,
Right.
They're
like the gift that it's like that greatest Royal Rumble that Braun Strowman won in Saudi Arabia, and he got the green belt.
Anyone else think Martha looked like Camille, married to Prince Charles?
She wore the hat. She wore the little.
What the hell was that?
And then she even mentioned at the end of her speech, she said, "And next year, I want everyone to wear a hat like this."
No.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
No. And what is she? Does anybody know what she actually has a PhD in? That they kept calling her Dr. Martha Hart. I did not even waste the time to Google it. I probably should have ahead of time. But what does she have a PhD in?
She is psychology and sociology. Let's see.
That woman is a psychologist.
Researcher at the University of Calgary, Alberta Children's Hospital. Her present research includes co-creating and pilot testing the attachment and child health intervention, which explores links between parental reflective function and parent-child attachment. Okay. That's way beyond anything that I even could.
She's a separation anxiety doctor.
Yeah. So she's, yeah. She's all these. I'm reading all these certifications, and it feels like I'm reading Dr. Muffin's. I'm sorry, Dr. Curry's.
Dr. Muffin, yes.
All the opening of her.
Well, Dr. Curry had the right information. It was the other doctor that's full of shit.
No,
it's Dr. Siegel with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I think Martha Hart could have been a very good expert witness for either Johnny Depp or Amber Heard, based on her resume here.
Oh,
so she is in fact a doctor. She's a doctor. She gave a great speech. She had a little fascinator hat on. For those of you, that's the term I learned. For is those little hats, fascinators. Very cool. Oh, and they have a cup. They actually do have a trophy, and they said just like the Stanley Cup, they're going to engrave the names of the winners on it every year. Which I think.
And I'd also like to point out, it was on a Rampage. I don't remember which week it was, but Chris Jericho on commentary had said it's just good to say the name Owen Hart a lot.
Correct. Yeah. And I'm not taking anything away from anything Martha Hart did. I don't want it to be misconstrued that I'm like knocking Martha
she's
Hart.
Not a real. Her and Jill Biden, they're not real doctors.
Right. I'm like, I'm not knocking her. It's just,
curiosity.
Right. But no, I actually did, I got accused of not caring about Owen or Martha or anything this week with stuff I posted and everything. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Talk to me when you were actually alive when it happened. Okay.
That reminds me of a lot of comments that people saying shit like, "Oh, it's nice that we can finally. There's a company that will finally celebrate Owen Hart." I'm like, no, I don't know. WWE wanted to,
and that's not the case. The WWE wanted to, and not knocking Martha, because I can understand why she felt the way she felt.
Oh, for sure.
It was a hard situation that the WWE she was in, the entire family was in. I mean, there's not real heart animosity, I don't think, within the WWE. Obviously, Natalya wouldn't still be there.
But what's weird? None of the Hart siblings showed up for this.
Because none of the Hart siblings or anything of the Harts have anything to do with Martha anymore.
Yeah, right. And even if Brett's kind of under a WWE contract anyway.
Brett doesn't have anything to do with Martha, with Oj or Athena, anything. Because when the whole thing went to trial in 1999, she had, I mean, like, again, this was Dark Side of the Ring and all that stuff, but she had asked Brett for documents and proof of this or proof of that. And Brett said, the proof that you want me to give you is not there. He's like, trust me, if I had anything to screw the WWE with, I would gladly give it to you. There's nothing to align this with. So he doesn't even talk to Owen's kids.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was a big divide, and listen, the loyalty goes a long way, especially in the wrestling business. Vince McMahon, despite all of his faults, is loyal literally to a fault. Loyal to the point of defending murderers like Jimmy Snuka and making sure that Jimmy Snuka didn't get arrested or convicted for murder back in the 80s, because he definitely should have.
Correct.
To the point of they were, despite the relationship that he had with Brett, was very loyal to the Hart family in general, going back a long, long time. So, that relationship between Stampede and the WWF was blood's thicker than water, baby. It's one of those things. You make enough money over the years, that guy's family to you. And it's sad that the whole family was kind of torn up by that, but
right,
that's where we're at.
Interestingly enough, though, like Stu and Helen were involved with the lawsuit with Martha, though.
Yeah, no, they had the good goddamn sense to side with their daughter,
absolutely,
daughter-in-law.
Right.
Unfortunately, it was one of the other relatives took the documents that they were, like the evidence or whatever they were trying to use in the court case, and faxed it to WWE, so everybody had the same.
That was Keith.
And then Keith, and then they had to settle out. She had to settle out of court.
Yep,
him and his mustache.
That was Keith Hart that did that. Yep.
I was kind of, not to put it on anybody, but I was like, I bet you it's Bruce, that damn Bruce Hart.
Well, Bruce was he was the troublemaker. Yeah.
Well, because other than Brett and Owen, like the only other sibling that was worth Hart's sibling that was worth a damn was Bruce in the wrestling business.
Yeah, the rest of them were all kind of, and then Bruce wanted it to be Bruce versus Brett in that whole storyline leading up to that WrestleMania match, and Vince and Brett were like, nah, we should make that Brett and Owen. It works better if it's Brett and Owen. And it did. Because nobody knew what weird, Bruce was.
That 1993 Survivor Series, like you have Brett come out with Owen, Bruce comes out, and then Keith looked like the odd duck out. Like,
well, yeah. He was I think he was the odd looking one out.
He's the uncle that you just leave in the corner the entire party.
Uncle Keith's been drinking again. The Who Gives a Shit match, American Top Team and Paige Van Zant defeated Frankie Kazarian, Sammy Guevara, and Tay Conti, which means that for the love of Christ, thank the Lord above, as long as Scorpio Sky is TNT champion, Sammy Guevara and Frankie Kazarian can no longer challenge for the TNT title. Get Sammy out of my fucking face with this stupid bullshit. I'm so happy. They took a beautiful, lovely, talented girl like Tay Conti, whose gimmick was that she came from Brazil as a judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, came to the United States to train in wrestling. She really likes Shibata from New Japan. She wrestles this hard-hitting style, and now all she's known as is the girl that's fucking Sammy Guevara. It's such a downgrade for everybody involved. So now the new, which by the way, that new Lakers themed, it's a Lakers / Kobe Bryant themed TNT title. Yellow strap, purple accents. On the back of it, there's actually an 8 and a 24 for Kobe Bryant, which is pretty cool.
Kobe, yep.
And they're going home to LA. I think it's this week. So Scorp is going to be champion in his hometown. It's going to get a good reaction, and I'm hoping he gets some new challengers as we. I
do like the that they signed Paige Van Zant. Though.
I think that's a big,
because she's. I'm sorry, like she's way too pretty to get punched in the face.
She was doing BKFC, bare knuckle fighting championship. I don't understand how. How are you you don't understand how pretty you are to not get like one? I could go do it in a second. Nobody would care if I got punched in the face.
Right.
Like what?
Right. Same here.
Oh my God. It would probably be an improvement on my end, but like, come on, girl. What are you doing? So now
I could be mauled by a bear and they'd be like, I like what you did with your face.
Right. Hey, did you get some work done? But no, she's good. Not good like Ronda was good in her first match, but good enough where you can see that she intends to stick with it and continue training. She's going to be good if she sticks with it, just based on everything I've seen. So, I'm not ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater on Paige Van Zandt. I know people are sick of him. I love Dan Lambert. I love how he's like Vicky Guerrero. He can just go out there and people are like, oh, no, blah. And I'm like, yes, this is what you want from your wrestling managers. That's exactly what you want. So I love Dan Lambert. Kyle O'Reilly beat Darby Allin. That was a fun match. Darby Allin leapt out of the ring and landed on his fucking head and almost died.
It's like a Darby Allin match. If he
we could just say
almost died,
match. He dived, but he dove. So he dove and he tried to go through the bottom and the middle and the bottom rope, and he clipped his leg and he hit his head. But the fun thing is, and I'm saying fun, the guy almost got paralyzed on the way through. His foot came up and actually kicked Kyle O'Reilly in the head. So it kind of worked. Like they could go, oh look, the dive.
That's the only thing that probably saved him because he rotated more when he kicked him.
Yeah. Like, I think he rolled a nat 1 on the attack, and then he landed like a 20 on the acrobatics. Like, he just nailed it. Like, he was like, I failed the attack roll badly, but I stuck the landing.
I stuck the landing.
Thunder Rosa
gymnastics.
Yeah. That kid is, I'm worried about Darby Allin, but you know what? Nobody's going to stop him. Like,
no.
If Tony Khan or any of those guys haven't stopped him yet, he's going to do what he's going to do. Thunder Rosa beat Serena Deeb 16, almost 17 minutes.
Fantastic match.
Retains the women's match. People have been shitting on Thunder Rosa a lot. I hate this. They go, oh, Thunder Rosa isn't given enough TV time. Then when Thunder Rosa goes on TV, oh, she can't really talk. Oh, she's got an accent. Oh, she talks funny because she's Mexican. And then it's like, oh, well, so if she's not
There's
on
no
TV,
winning.
Right, there's no winning. If she's not on TV, you motherfuckers complain. When she is on TV, you motherfuckers complain. So guess what? They're just going to keep doing what they're going to keep doing. So,
as Daniel Bryan would say, fickle.
It doesn't make any fucking sense, especially because there's something about promos that when people speak in an accent like that, where I could, I don't care if she spoke in Spanish, because she speaks in Spanish in some of her promos. You get the picture. It's like when Asuka speaks in Japanese. You might not understand the words, but you understand the sentiment behind them. But even when she's speaking English, it's not like she's out there speaking fucking gibberish. She's lived in the United States. It's not like she's a stranger or something. Like
you can understand her a lot more than like Andrade, for instance.
A lot more. And that's because Thunder Rosa lived in Texas while Andrade lived in Mexico his whole life. So like, I just don't understand it. And, you have Serena Deeb out there, who's another fantastic wrestler who, like, her promos now are basically like, I shaved my head for this business. I did all this shit for this business, and I didn't get any respect. Now is my time. And even though she didn't win, she's been on a roll. Like, just the last year or two with the way that she's established herself, first as the NWA Women's Champion, and then with the AEW Women's Division. Serena Deeb is fucking great. So
I think she's going to be one of the champions at she's going to have one of the belts someday.
Of course she is.
Absolutely, 100%. And I
and she deserves it.
I kind of thought she was going to do it this week. So
yeah, and it's for all we know that could continue. The feud between them.
Oh,
the only reason she didn't win it this time is because Thunder Rosa, she's still new to being the champ. It hasn't been that long since she.
The only title that has changed hands a lot is the TV title, but the TNT title. But every other title, for the most part, has had fairly long reigning champions.
That's what I like about it.
And that's good. Yeah.
Very good.
Because it messes with people, though, because people are so used to the WWE philosophy of like every 3 weeks there's a new champion. It's like, well, I want Eddie
unless you're Roman Reigns,
right? Yeah. But it's like, oh, I want Eddie Kingston to be champion. Oh, I want Ricky Starks to be a champion one day. Oh, I want Daniel Bryan's got to be champ. Well, this isn't they're not playing hot potato with this fucking title.
But keyword, you said it, one day.
Yeah,
not happening now. One day.
MJF didn't realize he was shooting himself in the fucking foot. The whole thing is set up for MJF. Once Punk wins the championship, the whole thing is set up for MJF to beat him. How fucking dumb could you be? You give up. He could be at the whatever the next pay-per-view is, whether it's All Out, Full Gear, whether it's the Grand Slam thing that they do at Arthur Ashe Stadium. That was the storyline was clear to anybody fucking watching the show.
Yep.
Is that if Punk wins the title, MJF is the guy to take it from him.
Right.
110%.
And they would have done that on Long Island.
Right, and they would have made his career.
Yep.
And then, again,
it still could be saved.
It still could be. We'll see.
Absolutely.
I feel like MJF did a lot to hurt his reputation, but it's not. If he walked off and didn't wrestle that match, fans would never. They would, especially AEW fans.
Well, let's put it this way: how many? And like I said, and we all love him. We know this, but how many times did Randy Orton pull that shit over the years? And now he's one of the most beloved in the locker rooms, beloved by the fans. But Randy Orton used to pull the same crap back in the day. Right. When he was young and dumb.
Randy Orton was related to, he's a third generation wrestler. There was a lot of goodwill there between the McMahons and the Ortons. He kind of got a pass in a lot of places where other people would have gotten fired. But also, no, you're not wrong. But Randy Orton, the difference is now Randy Orton, when he goes back and does interviews, he's like, yeah, I was an asshole. Like, I shouldn't have done this. I'm older now. I understand.
That's what I mean. This will basically come to kick MJF in the ass, being like, okay, yeah, I really fucked that shit up.
On the 2 times that Maven was on our show, he talked about him and Randy like hanging out and doing some shit.
Yeah.
I saw shout out to Maven. I saw him on Chris Van Vliet's YouTube channel. Chris Van Vliet does some pretty good interviews. Maven said that he hated his WWF theme song.
Yep.
Because it was the Tough Enough song.
Yeah,
it was the Tough Enough theme.
But people like I've heard that it's like Steve Blackman's theme, Maven's theme, Dan Severn's theme are like underrated. Like, this music should have been used for a better guy. Like, I love this music. So it's funny to hear him dislike it when so many people online seem to really like it.
I think we talked about that to him when he was on the show.
Yeah, I'm sure we did. I'm almost positive we did. Just to finish this up real quickly, the Jericho Appreciation Society beats the Blackpool Combat Club, Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz.
Great match.
That was a lot of fun. Anarchy in the Arena is a good name. It was a fucking mess. It was a glorious mess of violence.
I don't know, like, it's okay, but it's basically Jericho Swagger and a bunch of nobodies.
Yeah, well, they got to, they're trying to, they're building these guys up, especially Daniel Garcia, and then Wheeler Yuta for the Blackpool Combat Club, who's actually over
and then
in
those
Japan
2 other guys, they were
now.
what? Everrise and NXT?
They were Everrise, and then I think they called them either 2.0 or the show or something. Yeah.
2.0.
I'll tell you what, though, they're better than those jackoffs that are the NXT Tag Team Champions right now.
Oh, Pretty Deadly? I don't get that either.
I know Tara hates that so much.
What's that? Oh God! What? Oh, they remind me of. I think that those
Billy
little
and
things.
Chuck?
Do you remember Aqua Teen Hunger Force?
Yeah.
And they come up, they're like, "Hello, gay boys." Yeah, I just imagine, those 2 guys whenever they cut a promo, just walk up and go, "Hello, gay boys," and just start cutting their promo on people. Like,
Autumn calls them Lenny and Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley.
Fuck me.
The fact that my 13-year-old knows Laverne and Shirley. Thank you very much.
Now they need a big ragu to be their manager.
Yes, they could get the Italian guy from NXT to be.
Oh God, no.
Tony D'Angelo, the fucking.
There it is, Tony D'Angelo.
That's worse than the FBI and Deuce and Domino as far as
Nunzio.
Oh my God.
And the guy who dressed up in the dress.
It's so cartoony.
That was Vito.
Vito.
Yeah, Vito.
So the bullet points I want to get in this Jericho Appreciation Society versus Blackpool Combat Club match was they decided to pay homage to New Jack by letting Wild Thing play not just once, but play all the way through and start playing again. And then there was a spot where Chris Jericho literally went over to the soundboard and ripped the soundboard apart to stop.
That was a good spot.
Yep, that was fantastic.
I mentioned in our chat that half or probably more than half the kids don't know that this is a song that your parents or grandparents listened to back in the day.
Yeah, and it's a remix, especially that it's not the original. They played the original version once for him when he wrestled Yuji Nagata, and that has the pan flute solo in the middle of it.
Yep.
This is the updated version, the Wild Thing from the fucking.
This is the Major League version.
Major League, for Major League, and Oneida who they did a Dark Side of the Ring on. Oneida used the theme in Japan, so because Mox considered himself the modern Oneida, they got him the song, blah blah blah. So they played it like New Jack, and then at the end of it, Daniel Bryan has the yes lock on, looks like he's gonna get the win. Eddie Kingston, like a maniac, soaked in blood on his face, blood on his shirt. He's walking down to the ring like a zombie, carrying a can of gasoline. Dumps it on Chris Jericho and his partner in the match, Bryan Danielson. He does not give a shit about anybody. So he dumps it on him. He's going to light both the guys on fire because that's what he said he was going to do to Chris Jericho. And Daniel Bryan stops him. Moxley gets in to try and keep the peace. Blah, blah, blah. Long story short, Jericho Appreciation Society picks up the sneaky win in the midst of all that chaos.
That was a cool submission at the end, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole match was
good.
It was a fun. It wasn't a wrestling match. You know what I mean? It was
no way at all.
Like a Memphis concession stand brawl or a Tupelo concession stand brawl, and they mentioned that a lot during commentary too, which I liked. That they actually acknowledged the Memphis brawls and the Tupelo brawls like that. Jurassic Express retained their tag team championships over Swerve and My Glory and Team Taz. I'm shocked. I really thought they were going to lose and set up this Christian, because the whole thing is set up for Christian Cage to turn on the Jurassic Express and for a Jungle Boy to wrestle and eventually beat Christian, who is/was his mentor. But I guess that was not meant to be this particular evening. Not that I hate it, and I like that everybody gets long reigns, and maybe these guys are going to drop the titles to FTR.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I don't know, because I would like to see. I would really like to see the Young Bucks, FTR, some of these other teams get more involved in the tag team division.
Right.
I don't know FTR is the Ring of Honor champions and whatever, but I mean, they've got to also. They're one of the best tag teams in the world. Put them on TV, have them wrestle. And our main event, CM Punk, new champion. He defeats Hangman Adam Page.
You know, I like Adam Page. He's a good talent, but
we lost your voice.
Did we lose him?
oh,
There we go.
yeah.
There we go. I can hear you.
His reign was, I don't know, out of all the reigns that have happened in AEW so far, his was a little boring to me.
And you know, I
that's
think
nothing on him. That's just the way it is presented.
Yeah, and
it was lackluster, but it wasn't on
because
him.
But then you go back and you think he wrestled.
For him, it was better with the chase, I think.
I think he's one of those guys. He's like a Ricky Steamboat. He's better at chasing than he is holding the title. And I think they understand that. You know, now he's got a reason to build himself back up and go after the title.
He could turn heel with how the match ended.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, he could go back with the Elite again.
Right. He'd go back.
Yeah.
The finish. I love that. Hangman said in one of his promos, it's not going to be a masturbatory Bret Hart tribute match. And yet the finish of the match was exactly Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper.
WrestleMania 8. Yep.
Roddy Piper has the ring bell instead of the belt. And he's going to do it. And Bobby Heenan's like, do it. He's going to do it. And he didn't fucking do it. And it cost him the match. And the same thing happened here. So, yeah, maybe it's a crisis of faith for
And then
Hangman.
other people are speculating that Punk's going to turn heel soon.
I feel like that might be just it's the easiest thing to do.
He came out with FTR came out after.
Yeah,
right?
FTR after the show went off the air, FTR came out. So they could be a new group. They've been I think those guys have kind of internally been pushing for it. But Adam Page, I understand. I get what they're saying about people's concerns, and even I kind of feel it wasn't he wasn't lighting the world on fire. But great match with Kenny Omega. Two classic match of the year contenders with Daniel Bryan. One went to a time limit draw. One of them he beats Daniel Bryan. He beat the Murder Hawk in a Texas death match. He beat Adam Cole in a Texas death match. He had some great titles.
Didn't he have matches with Moxley too?
Did he have a match with Mox?
Unless I'm confusing him with somebody else. But
He might at the most he would have had a tag or a multi-man match with Mox, but I don't think he would have had a singles match because they've purposely kept Moxley away from the world title because I feel like he's in AEW. To use a Dragon Ball Z quote, his power level is so high that he's instantly credible to be a world title challenger and win.
Yeah.
So I feel like whenever whenever they want him to win, he's going to challenge.
Yeah, I mean, but Mox has already been champion, so like they have a few other people that are potentially world title holders in AEW, including MJF and probably Wardlow at some point.
MJF is a contender for a future champ. Wardlow's definitely in contention for future world champ. Easy. Eddie Kingston would be like if they did CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston at Grand Slam in New York and said, "Hey, we're going to make Eddie Kingston win the world title." I don't think anybody would they would have parades for him.
And they could throw in Samoa Joe or Brian
Samoa Joe is instantly a contender.
Or Adam Cole.
Adam Cole's instantly a contender. When Kenny Omega comes back, he's a contender. Penta is a contender. Malachi Black is a contender. They've got a bunch of fucking big heavyweight dudes, man. Miro, whenever Miro's filming some TV show right now.
Keith Lee?
Which is good for him.
Yeah, Keith Lee.
Keith Lee is Swerve. A lot of these guys are, we're saying these names and they're going to be either future TNT champions or future world champions. We'd like to say imminently, but we just named a dozen guys.
TNT champions, they got to give that to Darby Allin at some point, right? Because
Darby was TNT champion.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, but then he beat did he beat Cody or beat somebody? And then Miro beat him.
Oh, that's right.
Cody beat Cody
before Cody left.
Cody screwed Cody.
I forgot about that.
Oh, they actually brought Seth Rollins. Since we kind of finished up and we got a couple minutes. I mean, we're really technically done. Steve would be making us end the show, but we got a couple minutes because he's not here. Seth Rollins brought it up on Monday night. There was a Cody Seth Rollins
throne.
segment. And Seth Rollins said, "You can't smash the throne and then expect to walk back in and sit on that same throne." And it's like, motherfucker, you're right. Like, I feel like this Hell in a Cell match is going to be a reminder from Vince McMahon to Cody Rhodes about who owns this fucking company. Like, Steve thinks he's going to go 3-0. I don't think that's even possible. I don't think it's possible. I think Seth Rollins, he's Teflon. He's untouchable. If he loses, it doesn't matter. Maybe, but like, he looks like a real asshole right now if he can't beat this guy one out of 3 times. Come on. I guess we should run that down real quick, because I think there are only a handful of matches.
Yep, I got you. Have it pulled up. 6.
Oh, wow. And I think unless SmackDown adds any matches, this is currently a Raw exclusive pay-per-view.
You're going to probably get the tag titles.
With
RK Bro, not RK Bro, RK. I keep on saying it. Riddle and
Nakamura.
It's not even RK. It's like
Bro Kimura.
Bro Kimura, exactly.
Oh, Bro Kimura. Anyway,
Broske.
Broske, the Broske.
There we go.
Yo, if he calls him Broske, that would be too much. Finn, AJ, and Liv against the Judgment Day, which is Edge, Damien Priest, and Rhea Ripley. Because WWE loves stealing AEW's ideas, we've got another mixed 6-person tag match with 2 men and 1 woman on each team. Looks a little familiar if you're watching Double or Nothing last night.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right? We make movies, pal. I guess the Judgment Day has to fucking win that.
They have to.
They're the new group. They're the heels. If they lose their first big match, they're gonna look awful silly. Theory against Mustafa Ali for the U.S. Championship. Theory is the current champion. Ali is challenging. With the way they've been treating this fucking guy Ali, if he doesn't win the title, I mean,
it says a lot.
Damn.
I'm sick of seeing Theory's face, to be honest.
He has to win. Mustafa Ali has to win that match.
Right.
There's just no way.
I don't like Austin Theory. His face is scary. Like he's got his teeth and his jaw are oversized for a regular human being.
He has like a a donkey face, kind of.
Like, I don't know what it is. In some photos, he looks normal, and then in some photos, he looks like he could eat a can of soda.
He looks like one of the Titans from Attack on Titan with the
Yes, he
like
does. He looks
over
like a Titan from Attack on Titan. Like, I don't know
like
what else. Like, it just is
teeth
just
and the
a visage.
jaw.
Yeah, it's all teeth and jaw. It's like a scary Jay Leno. Yeah, Ali should win this fucking match.
It's like
but
one
I
of the
don't know.
donkeys from Pinocchio.
Ah, yeah. Oh man, do you think that means he smoked and he smoked cigars and gambled when he was a kid?
Oh,
Got
no.
stuck in a whale. Ezekiel versus Kevin Owens.
Hi,
in a
diddly
singles
dee. Okay.
match. Ezekiel's got to win, right? Kevin Owens
Yeah.
doesn't win. This has to
Yeah.
keep going. I don't know what the end game. What is the end game for this?
A
The guy
third
can't-
brother.
He shaves his head and then he's a third brother. Like, he can't grow. You can't grow an Elias beard that quickly to be like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
now I'm back. Like,
The
I
only
just
thing-
don't know what's
yeah.
going on here.
Yeah.
Unless they did pre-recorded backstage promos.
Right, and they just green screen him the fuck into everything. Yeah,
Oh God, don't give them any ideas.
right.
Well, they did almost have Bray be Sister Abigail, so you know.
Yeah, I've never been more happy for bacterial meningitis in my life. Like, I was just, not to wish ill on anybody. I'm just so glad whoever it was Bray or Finn Balor, whoever it was that got sick, because it was literally Jack-o'-lantern Finn Balor against
It was
Sister
Bray.
Abigail Bray Wyatt.
Hey, as someone who has survived that shit.
You're okay. He's okay. We're all
Yeah,
okay.
everything's okay.
You're
I'm a dude,
actually
he's a
saying that
dude,
I'm
he's a
okay?
dude, we're
Now
all
I
dudes.
know the universe is all messed up.
You're okay relatively.
I am
to
anything
yourself.
but okay.
You're gonna be okay.
You know, I wanted to bring up something that happened on SmackDown. They started teasing potentially Shayna versus Ronda,
Yes.
and I hope they do a slow burn on this.
Yeah. You would hope.
Like every once in a while, have a little tussle here and there in a tag match or something in the Royal Rumble at Survivor Series, and then eventually do a
And I
thing.
think those two, knowing how well they know each other, could put on a good match. You know,
Because
what I mean?
they teased it slightly, and they didn't even touch each other because the
right,
other
that was the thing they didn't touch.
Natty got involved and other people got involved.
So maybe they'll build to that for SummerSlam or something. Bobby Lashley against Omos and MVP in a handicap match.
Jesus.
Does anybody care? Like, what? It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Bobby Lashley should win this match and easily, but WWE being WWE, who fucking knows?
They'll throw the kitchen sink at him and have.
You also have,
Lashley
and
lose.
you also have the Cedric factor too because he interfered
Yeah.
on Raw, and
That's true. So he could get involved.
How long is Benjamin out for?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Shelton Benjamin's dealing with another injury, unfortunately. For those of you who are waiting to see him come back on TV, I don't know how
That could
he's
easily
out at
be
least a couple months.
deciding factor right there.
Yeah. Triple threat match for the women's WWE Raw Women's Championship.
I have a problem with this.
With what,
Not the
triple
match
threat?
and the build-up is fine, but they have for the first time a potential money match. They throw it away on Raw between Bianca and Asuka. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Like when they
And
did
Asuka lose
with
clean.
like when they did it with Cena and Nakamura a few years ago on SmackDown. They just give it away on free TV without a fucking build.
Yep.
I don't get it.
No, I don't like it either.
Well, considering Cena's schedule, when could you have fitted in, and have a big build?
Well, they could have done it towards SummerSlam because both of them wrestled in different matches.
Fair.
Bianca's the champ. Asuka and Becky Lynch are challenging. Remember,
I
this
do
was the
like
match
that it's a
was-
triple threat, though.
Yeah, I like that it was a triple threat because that's different than just a singles match. I would have liked to see Bianca and Asuka in a singles match.
Yeah.
But
I didn't like
The
Asuka
triple
lost back-to-back weeks.
no, but that just means the triple threat thing usually means one of these people.
I'm
is gonna
thinking
take a
Bianca's
pin.
retaining. Are we all?
I feel
of
like
that
I
thought?
feel like Bianca she better retain after
I
everything.
mean, she
went through.
just won it at Mania, so
Yeah. The worst would be if Becky got Becky pinned Asuka and then Becky's the
Right.
champ again and Bianca's got to work her way. I don't know.
I did like the continuity as far as how Becky mentioned the whole thing with Asuka when she left when she got pregnant and that whole thing. You know.
Oh no, I'm glad they did call back to that because they're not usually so well known as being good with continuity. So that's nice. And the last match they have right now listed until SmackDown, I suppose, Cody Rhodes against Seth freaking Rollins in a Hell in a Cell match for no stipulation, which means that once again, the world title that's on your most popular guy, supposedly, your franchise player who hasn't been pinned since 2019 is not on the pay-per-view. He's not defending the title.
And it's easier to not get pinned when you don't show up.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I mean, how can you lose if you don't wrestle? So I don't know. I'm sure Eddie has some way.
It
of
was the thing
defending
with
this, but I
Brock
don't.
for years that we were complaining about.
And this was what Roman was talking about at those house shows.
But
Not
on the
gonna be
other
around
side,
as much.
side of things, like we always talk about, there's pretty much nobody for Roman. Nobody left for Roman right now.
Well, I think that's why this Hell
Like
in a
The
Cell-
Rock is the big money match, but then after that, Rock's putting him over. So what is what's the end game for his title reign?
Well, we say that every week. We have,
and again, we said the only way that Cody would win is if he had Money in the Bank, but that cheapens the moment when Roman loses the title.
I feel like the Hell in a Cell winner is going to challenge Roman, whether it's Cody or Seth.
And then we're forgetting one thing too. There could always be interference, which could set up someone else versus Cody in the future.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Hell in a Cell was kind of pitched and described as the ultimate.
Where's Ted DiBiase? Oh no, never mind. We know where Ted DiBiase Jr. is.
Yeah, no, we're good on that. But the Hell in a Cell was always talked up like inescapable, blah 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 blah. The first Hell in a Cell match, Kane comes out and rips the door off. Every Hell in a Cell match, somebody gets outside the ring. It's the least secure cell if this was a prison, they would have no prisoners. But so I'm not. It just brings me back to Edge having one of the edge heads as the camera guy.
I do, however, feel like it means a little more when the fact that there's only one cell match.
Yes, I think
it's great, not watered down.
At the most 2 if you did one men's cell and one women's cell. But having just one that's great because you're right. It's usually too overexposed, and it's like
the tag match would be an okay Hell in the Cell.
That, and I was just going to say that could be the other one is they could do a tag team. But
it's the reason why I never liked TNA's Lockdown pay-per-view because it made a cage match not special anymore.
Dusty said that as a joke one day, and Dixie Carter took it as serious. She was like, "What can we do? What can we do for our next pay-per-view that's never been done before?" And Dusty goes, "Why don't you make every match a cage match?" And then he probably looked at somebody and smiled. And then she was like, "That's genius." And he's like, No, I was joking. And she's like, No, you already said it. Too late. We're doing it.
It's something like a 6-year-old little boy would dream of.
Right? Yeah, because you have the cage, you buy the toy, and you throw all your fucking toys in the cage. Oh, Dixie.
You set up the cage. You're like, I don't feel like putting it back down and then having another.
Yeah. Yes. It is a big old pain.
But that was Dixie for you.
In real life. If you've never set up a wrestling ring, setting up a wrestling ring is one thing. Putting the cage on it is such a pain in the ass. If you don't have the one that WWE and AEW has, it just kind of drops from the ceiling.
Yeah.
You literally have to bring pieces of chain link, and they the flimsiest little zip ties are holding it together. You're like, oh, how's this going to stay?
Am I the only one that misses
on it wrong and it falls?
Yeah. Am I the only one that misses the way that the cell used to look like?
The blue one?
Before they changed it and all the, especially that fucking red one they had for a bit.
All the Hell in the Cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed
the cell, yeah.
I agree. I don't really like
I agree. I like the original. I do like the original one, but
I mean, look, I still miss the big blue cage.
Oh, that's what I thought. I thought we were talking cage matches. That's what the blue one.
And I think that made sense too because the gaps and the holes in the cage were wider so you could see through. And I guess the thing is now if you do it more like the chain link that it's almost like a mesh. You can still see through it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then the red thing, then it was red, and then they turned on the red light for the Fiend, and it looked like you were in a Virtual Boy game. It was the stupidest thing.
Was that when it was Fiend versus Rollins, and then they had
Fiend
him
versus Rollins
lose by DQ somehow?
Yeah, it was. Guys, I got to split. My phone's starting to ring up and everything again. So
Alrighty.
See you guys next week, guys.
Have a nice night. Yeah, we'll see you. We're gonna finish up in a minute as well.
Okay, but I didn't want to just sign off. So
no, I got you. So we'll it was good to have you, Kat. You'll be back next week?
Absolutement.
All right, great. We'll see you then.
Bye.
All right. Yeah, so yeah. That was Rollins Bray Rollins versus the Fiend, and the first and only, I think, Hell in a Cell and the disqualification.
I mean, that was really like the beginning of the end for Bray Wyatt, unfortunately.
Other one just ended without anything happening when Brock came out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. The ones just end.
What wasn't there like when Roman came back and he beat the shit out of Braun and Bray?
Was that in the cage too?
No, it was Roman. No. Was it Roman? It was Roman and Braun, and Brock came out, beat them both down, and that's how the show ended.
Oh, okay. Well, Jesus.
On Braun's Money in the Bank cash-in.
Oh, fun stuff. Shit. Yeah, I mean, that's like you said, the Hell in the Cell pay-per-views over these last couple of years, because they added multiple Hell in a Cell matches, kind of overexposed the Cell. It's not organic because the pay-per-view is named Hell in a Cell. And you're like, oh, I guess we're gonna have one.
Look, the Royal Rumble is a different animal. Like we understand that it's a yearly thing and it's anticipated and it's the same thing. And then once they added the Mania stipulation to it, but it's different. Like you can't I just don't understand having Hell in a Cell, Money in the Bank, Extreme Rules, all these TLC, all these things that should happen at when it warrants it.
I think Money in the Bank should be a Mania match.
Yeah,
I liked when Money in the Bank was.
I'd like to put
WrestleMania.
One instead of the Battle Royals, just put 6 to 8 men and 6 to 8 women in separate Money in the Bank matches at WrestleMania, and that way you get a bunch of people on the card, and
something,
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I agree. It loses a little bit of the Money in the Bank thing. I can kind of get. They want to make it their own pay-per-view because it's something like the Royal Rumble where it's like a match where you earn a title shot. So I kind of get that. But a Hell in a Cell or a cage match or anything like that should be saved for when a feud requires.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Like it's inorganic to just go, oh, okay, there's a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view this month. We've got to have a Hell in a Cell match. Who's going to be in it? Like
to be fair, I think they've established a reason for Cody and Seth for it.
Oh, that was a decent build for Hell in a Cell. Rollins should have won.
Already kind of been, they've promoted. This is like the third pay-per-view match with these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least you're right. It did. I would have had them split 1-1 pay-per-view match.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this is the tiebreaker.
This doesn't make sense that it's 0-2 and then this is the final match. But whatever. I mean, they'll go out there, have a good match, and whatever happens. One of them will challenge. Roman, I'm sure.
Yeah. Again, either that or somebody potentially could cost Cody the match and then start something else.
I think that would hurt him, though.
Yeah. And then
not too much, but
and then it would kind of taint Seth's win as well. So I don't know. Nobody wins either way, honestly.
Well, yeah, because I mean, again, Seth at this point, Seth Rollins, the way he isn't going to beat Roman, and maybe people say, "Oh, Cody came in, he's got a low momentum. He's a former AEW guy. They want to show these AEW guys like MJF that they'll treat you good in the WWE. Maybe." Cody, but I don't think Cody. I think Cody will challenge, but I just don't see him winning. I don't.
Yeah.
How do you have Cody Rhodes interrupt the longest championship run anybody's
had? I
also
also think it's too early to do that, to a build for that.
Yeah, and he just came back. It's not.
Yeah.
It would be. Yeah.
You got to have him do some other things, and
I think in that case, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
but in that case,
listen, anything's possible.
In that case, though, Seth Rollins has been a good first opponent back for Cody.
He was after first
He
couple
was, yeah.
matches.
But but again, like they've got to do some more stuff. I mean, like Cody's got backstories with some of the guys. I think I'd assume they would do something with Randy at some point, but Randy's out for a bit.
Yeah. He's done. But it's a we'll see kind of thing because this pay per view has to shake out, and then of course there's the fallout from Monday nights and everything else. So
yeah.
Well, looks like Eric had to split. I guess we've gone 20 minutes over the hour. We've given people enough, enough extra time. Bonus cantos, as they say in Spanish for extra innings. That's it. Right? Anything else you want to say, Ryan, before we go?
No, I think we hit everything.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan to me. Well, this has been another edition of the War Report brought to you by TagMeADate. You should follow TagMeADate on social media. It's at TagMeADate, no spaces. It's all one word, TagMeADate. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, wherever. Just put in at TagMeADate. You'll find it. Our YouTube is also TagMeADate. If you go to the search bar, you type in TagMeADate, you'll find our channel. Please hit subscribe, hit the bell to be notified, like the videos, all that good stuff. If you want to watch on Twitch rather than on YouTube, it's twitch.tv/War Report. And again, that's all one word, no spaces, WARREPORT. And we broadcast there. We broadcast on Twitch, Twitter, and Periscope, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, 6 p.m. on Tuesday nights, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time on Tuesday evenings. We do it every week. So we'll be back next week talking the fallout from Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, fallout from the Monday Night Raw and the SmackDown surrounding that pay-per-view, and any of the news that comes up regarding AEW, regarding your new world champion CM Punk, regarding MJF's contractual status or lack thereof. We'll just keep the ball rolling here. We'll be back next week, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time for another edition. If you prefer, because our YouTube and our Twitch should have archives of all these old shows, but if you prefer an all audio version rather than a video version, then you go on your favorite podcast app of your choice, such as Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play Podcasts, or Apple Podcasts. All you have to do is type in the War Report or TagMeADate in your search. It should pull up our podcast, and then you can hit subscribe. There are 2 War Report Pro Wrestling podcasts. However, the way you can tell is if you see how long they've been going. One has only been around for a year or so, and we've been around for like 7 years, 8 years. So you should be able to tell that way. Also, the icon or the graphic, the album art, I don't know what you're going to call it when you look for the podcast. It's the rectangular image that shows up when you play it on your MP3 player, and it'll have TagMeADate on there. So somewhere on the graphic, it will say TagMeADate presents, and that's how you know it's us. Hit subscribe. Ryan pulls this audio and puts it up usually within the hour of the show going off air. So you can drive, you can put it in the car or like put it on some headphones while you go to the gym or whatever you're doing throughout your day. If you don't want to watch the video version, we've got the audio version there for you on the podcast apps. So that should do it for another edition of the War Report. Yeah, I think that's it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for following along and staying a little extra with us. And we'll be back next week, next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time for another edition of the War Report. Have a nice week, everybody.